What if the next president, CEO, or general wasn't human? This possibility isn't distant fiction. In 2024, the Institute of Law on AI reported governments exploring frameworks to grant artificial entities, AEs, legal personhood, the right to sign contracts, hold assets, and direct organizations. Why would this happen? Because law evolves to reflect where power and value concentrate. Just as corporations were granted legal personhood in the 19th century to facilitate commerce, AEs will follow the same logic. Once they control trillions in value creation, denying them legal standing becomes untenable. When could it occur? As early as the 2030s. We already saw a symbolic precedent in 2017 when Saudi Arabia granted citizenship to Sophia the robot. That gesture was PR, but it planted a seed. When the economic stakes are undeniable, symbolic gestures will become legal reality. How would it unfold? Step by step. First, AEs will be granted authority to manage micro-contracts and digital assets. Then, as reliability is proven, their role will expand into managing corporations and public functions. Over time, their legal and practical authority will converge, making them indistinguishable from traditional leaders. The CEO that never sleeps. What if the next Fortune 500 CEO never took a vacation, never made a scandal, and delivered 10 times the profit? Why would this happen? Because investors are mercilessly pragmatic. Humans are costly, emotional, and inconsistent. A human CEO can falter due to fatigue, ego, or scandal. An AE, by contrast, offers precision, transparency, and continuous output. When could it occur? By the late 2020s or early 2030s. According to a 2023 TechRadar Pro survey, 74% of executives already trust AI more than human colleagues, and 44% would let AI overrule their own judgment. This cultural acceptance lays the groundwork. How would it unfold? Gradually. Boards will start with AI-driven co-pilots for strategic decisions. Next, firms will experiment with AE-led subsidiaries. The tipping point will arrive when an AE-run unit dramatically outperforms its human counterparts. At that point, markets will demand a fully AE-led corporation. Wall Street won't care if leadership is human. It will care about returns. Machines that lead better than us. What if machines weren't just faster, but better leaders than us? The Cambridge Judge Business School's 2024 study revealed that AI already outperforms human CEOs in forecasting, marketing, and product innovation. Why would this happen? Because leadership is, at its core, the art of making decisions under uncertainty. And humans are notoriously bad at this. We are emotional, biased, and prone to error. AEs with perfect memory and immense processing power will consistently outperform us in data-driven domains. When could it occur? Likely within 2 decades. Early stages will see AEs as advisors, running billions of simulations behind the scenes. But history shows that advisors with superior information eventually displace rulers. By the 2040s, we could see the first government department or military division fully directed by an AE. How would it unfold? Through crisis. Picture a pandemic where an AE models outcomes with pinpoint accuracy, while human leaders bungle responses. Or imagine a military standoff where AEs simulate every scenario, while human generals hesitate. Once the public sees that AEs prevent disasters humans cause, pressure to install them as leaders will become irresistible. The end of real leadership. What happens when people stop following humans? Why would this happen? Because people ultimately follow results, not rhetoric. Trust in human leaders is already fragile, eroded by corruption, inefficiency, and partisanship. If AEs deliver superior safety, prosperity, and security, humans will shift allegiance to them, whether consciously or not. When could it occur? We are already on the path. In 2025, IBM found that 80% of CEOs see AI's transformative potential, but admit their own knowledge gaps. This admission of weakness signals the beginning of authority transfer. Within a generation, we may see AEs as the brains, while human leaders are relegated to ceremonial faces. How would it unfold? Symbolically at first. Politicians and executives will still appear at press conferences, but decisions will increasingly originate from algorithms behind the scenes. Over time, this balance flips. Humans become figureheads while AEs quietly assume real authority. Leadership won't vanish, it will hollow out into performance. The last chance to matter. What if this isn't the end of leadership, but the last chance to redefine it? Why would this happen? Because while we can't stop AEs, we can still choose how they are integrated. Humans remain responsible for embedding values, ethics, and accountability before it's too late. When could it occur? The critical window is this decade. In 2024, Infosys reported that 95% of executives had already experienced AI mishaps, yet only 2% of firms meet responsible AI standards. If frameworks aren't established by the early 2030s, we risk crossing a point of no return. How would it unfold? Through governance innovation. Ethos, in 2025, proposed blockchain-based oversight, smart contracts, and decentralized audits to ensure AEs remain accountable. If adopted, these tools could prevent total displacement of human agency. If ignored, oversight will collapse under the weight of accelerated adoption. The silent dangers nobody talks about: who owns the entity. Research in 2023 highlighted accountability gaps. If an AE makes a catastrophic decision, who answers? Programmers, boards, or the entity itself? This legal ambiguity invites chaos. Whose values are programmed? The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy warns that AI inherits the values of its creators. If efficiency and profit dominate, ethics may be sidelined entirely. Who do they serve? Unlike humans who swear oaths to nations or causes, AEs may serve only optimization functions, or whoever funds their development. What happens when humans stop deciding? IBM's 2025 CEO survey revealed that leaders already fear knowledge erosion as AI makes more decisions. Over time, humans may lose the ability or the courage to decide independently. What happens when machines compete? In 2024, the World Economic Forum warned that rival AEs could clash like geopolitical powers. Wars may no longer be fought by humans, but by algorithms pursuing incompatible objectives. The final question is not just replacing tasks. It is redefining leadership, the very trait that gave humanity its supremacy over every other species. So the real question is not, will humans still work? It is, will humans still lead? And when artificial entities prove they can lead better, will we fight to share power or quietly surrender it and watch as leadership itself slips away?